Hey everybody, this is Community Contextualized, and I'm Jacob Bothell.
I'm Fred Todd, Freddie Todd.
We're here this week talking with Fred about men's ministry and what that means to him and what he feels his part is. So I suppose the first question, what do you think men's ministry looks like here at New Life City Church?
Let's see what it looks like. Well, it's definitely I'd say a very close community of men. It's not super large. We have about 20 that are regular at our breakfasts and our retreats, or a few more at our retreats, but it's about 20 guys that are pretty close-knit dudes that, we just hang out and like to share life with each other, and it's a pretty good time.
Yeah.
Pretty good group of guys, yeah.
Yeah, what does it look like when you guys hang out and come
Man,
together?
it's just, it's like, for me, it's like a relaxing time, I think. I mean,
Okay.
when you attend church, everybody's kind of got their church face on, you might say.
Yeah.
And for me, the men's ministry is an opportunity to be in a Christian community, Christian with Christian guys.
Yeah.
But take off that church face, and
Amen.
just kind of be you.
Yeah.
It's joking and laughing and telling stories, talking sports or whatever.
Okay, sure. What do you think that? This is a question maybe you're not prepared for, but I'm going to ask it anyways.
Okay.
What do you think? Why do you think we put on the church face?
I think it's probably expectation of
Okay.
everybody wants to look good,
Sure.
You want to, when you go back to when you were a kid, you wanted to look good for your parents, or, and it's, I don't know the exact science of the way we think, but,
Sure.
Everybody wants to look good, and that church face, even though we all know that we're not perfect,
Yeah.
I guess part of human nature, I'd say.
Okay. No, sure. Okay. So back to men's ministry. What is your part in men's ministry? What is it that you do for the group?
I lead the men's ministry, so I set up and schedule the breakfast and also our retreats. We do two retreats a year, in the spring and in the fall. So I put those together. Also just I try to stay connected with guys in the church and try to get them involved in stuff.
Sure.
We haven't done it in a while, but we also try to do some voluntary stuff as far as the men's ministry goes. So kind of organize stuff like that.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So more of an organizational administration.
Sure.
Sure.
I don't do any paperwork though.
No. Well, no. Of course. There's no
That goes to
paperwork.
Troy.
Oh, that's very good. Okay. So there's an upcoming men's event. What would that be?
We have a float trip that we do every spring.
Okay.
It's on May 17th and 18th. It's just a one-night deal. We do camp out, so you're outside.
Sure.
Guys bring a tent. It's one night, so you don't need a lot of stuff. We provide the food. You can bring snacks or your own drinks, but we provide dinner on Friday, breakfast on Saturday morning, and then we cook out on the river. We stop and build a fire and cook hot dogs.
Wow. That's
So,
very cool. Yeah.
yeah.
What has that been like in the past?
Oh man, it's been fun. Last year we got hit by a storm, and while we were on the water,
Of course.
and honestly, it was the worst storm I've ever been in outside. That I couldn't get away from.
Yeah.
So honestly, it had some scary. It was a little scary, but
Okay.
it was still a blast, and it brought us all together. And everybody that was there, they're like, I got a story to tell now.
Of course they did. Yeah.
This major storm popped up while I was outside, and I couldn't run away from it.
Oh man, that's crazy. But that was just last year.
That was last year.
hopefully different this year, or
Yes, hopefully different. And it's spring, so obviously you gotta, you're gonna chance of rain's pretty good.
Yeah.
We have had to cancel a float trip before because the water was too high. It wasn't raining at that time, but it had rained so much that the river was too high and we couldn't float it. So we had to do an alternative
Okay.
But it worked out still.
Yeah, but you come up with one, and
Oh, yeah.
you have the escape if you
Oh yeah,
if you have to.
we have a plan B.
Okay, very cool, very cool. So you also mentioned the men's retreat. What is that? What does that look like?
That's what we're calling the float trip.
Okay.
We just call it men's retreat. We do one in the spring, and we do one in the fall. In the fall, we usually go to Amazing Grace Baptist Camp, and we try to get a guest speaker. But if we don't, we just come up with our own.
Sure.
I usually do something. Troy does something, but so again, it's just a time for guys to spend an evening and day together and do man stuff and be manly and tell jokes and fart.
Okay. Because that's what men do. We sit and fart.
Tell jokes and fart.
Yeah. So, what does the men's ministry mean to you on a personal level?
On a personal level, it's almost for me a requirement.
Oh, okay.
It's really important because men we tend to hide stuff. We tend to cover up stuff. We talked about the church face. Well, men put on all different kinds of faces, and it's easier to walk through life. It's easier to get through our challenges if we can walk shoulder to shoulder with somebody that's on the same level as us. As far as Christianity goes, another believer.
Yeah.
And just I've built so many relationships with guys through the men's ministry. Sure, John Sanborn. I mean, he's one of the guys. I don't even see him at church anymore because he's first service, I'm second service.
Okay, yeah, that's a hard disconnect sometimes.
It really is. And this morning I walked in. I got here early, and I got here late, but early.
That's okay.
And I saw these kids that I haven't seen in months because they're first service, I'm second service, and I'm like,
wow, yeah.
Man, all these kids are growing up, But yeah, man, just that connection that and relationships that you build. Troy's one of my best friends, and
sure,
we didn't build that relationship just by coming to church on Sunday. It was doing men's stuff and other things outside of church. So
wow, so just the relational part of it and getting to know
that's huge.
Other people to build you up.
The relational part is huge, and we're all men. We know how men think, and there's stuff that men think that their wives don't know about, and I'm sure the wives are the same way. But
I'm certain.
There's stuff that you and I can talk about that I can't talk to my wife about. I mean, I may be able to talk to her about it, but she may not understand it like you and I would understand it.
Okay.
So
yeah. Man, okay, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Where do you see men's ministry going in the future?
As just like in the church, in our church, or
let's start within our church.
Okay. I can tell you where it needs to be.
Okay.
It needs to be. You need to be at like 80%. I would say an 80 to 90%. What do you call it?
Participation
rate. It's not there, and it sounds like an impossible number when I say that, 80%.
Okay.
Just because guys are so, I don't want to secretive. I don't want to say that word, but we don't like to be vulnerable. And when you start getting involved in men's ministry and building relationships with other guys, looking vulnerable, that comes up.
It does.
Especially if you're honest. I mean, if you're honest with guys, you're gonna be vulnerable because you're gonna tell them the things that they already know probably. But
yeah, that's the thing though. Is like everybody, they're like, you're not telling me anything new.
Exactly, and that's what I mean by we know what men do. We know because we're men. You know, and it's really if you look at how we're supposed to lead, biblically, men are supposed to be leaders, and I think from what I see nowadays, the men aren't doing a very good job of leading in their families. We'll take, for example, anybody, men don't take their kids to church anymore. I went to church. My dad took me to church. My family took me to church. I took my kids to church, and it was kind of a family tradition to go to church. And I hope that my kids do that with their kids.
Amen.
But I know tons of families, and it's like they don't even go. They believe in God. They say they believe in God, but they don't attend church anymore. And it's like something that we're phasing out. And I think it's men have to be good leaders. I shouldn't say good, because you should lead, even if you're bad at it. I think you should be leading.
Yeah. At least take a stab at it.
Exactly. At least try. Put the effort out there.
Sure.
So I really, it's kind of, to me, it's kind of disappointing seeing how men aren't leading like that.
Okay.
And I feel like we should be leading like that, and men's ministry is another tool that you can utilize to help you lead, to just help you be a better man.
Okay.
So
you don't feel that there's enough participation?
I do not.
At least with the men here at New Life.
No. I mean,
So-
how many men do you think we have in our?
I couldn't even guess. I
Okay,
really couldn't.
what do you think? We got close to 1,000 members, maybe.
Oh, I don't know about that.
You don't think it's that many?
No.
Okay, so let's go. We'll go with a lower number. Let's say 200.
Yeah.
200 members. Let's say half of those are men, so 100 men, and we have 20 that come to a Saturday morning breakfast.
Sure.
That's not a very good percentage.
Sure.
Out of 100 guys, you only got 20 that show up on a Saturday. So I don't think I don't think our numbers are where they need to be.
Okay. So why do you think that? Do you think it's just they're not wanting to come, or that the right things aren't being offered to them, or
Or
they don't understand maybe what it is?
It can't be that it's not offered to them, because it's
Okay.
out there.
Sure.
And everybody knows about it.
Okay.
I think it's prioritizing. And I understand that everybody's got family. You got things you got to do Saturday morning,
Yeah.
for our breakfast. But, if you prioritize what's important to you, and, growing as a Christian, is on the top of that list, I think your involvement will be higher. So,
okay.
as humans, we kind of plan out our finances. We plan out our goals. We plan for retirement. But one thing we don't do is we don't plan our Christian walk. We don't sit down and write out a plan, or even mentally think about it. And anything that you want to be successful at, you got to make a plan. And you ask anybody that starts a business, they didn't just go willy-nilly.
I mean, they could.
They could, but they might have been doing it by the seat of their pants.
Yeah.
But most people that have successful businesses, they sat down, they wrote out a plan, or they had something to go off of. You know what I mean? And we don't do that in our Christian walk. We don't plan it out. We don't safeguard ourselves. We don't plan on not sinning. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We don't plan to keep ourselves out of a place we shouldn't be if we have a certain weakness. If my weakness is pornography or something like that, I probably don't want to go eat next to the strip club. You know what I'm saying?
Probably not the best idea.
No, if you're addicted to it, you're going to end up there. So that's we got to plan. Got to make a plan.
Sure. Yeah. So men coming together and bolstering each other up and creating a community and
Yes.
things that you feel very strongly about.
Yeah,
You
that should be part of your
committed
plan.
to it. Yeah.
And there's a sense of accountability with it too. I mean, even if you're not trying to have an accountability partner or whatever, there's still a sense of accountability within your group.
Sure.
If especially if somebody knows you have a weakness, and they're like, "Man, how'd you do this week?"
Yeah.
Did you get on the internet more than you should have?
Sure.
And if you're honest about it, there's help there. So
Yeah, there is. There's people who will.
Yeah.
They'll keep you accountable. For
Oh yeah.
certain, yeah.
Definitely will.
Man, that's awesome. So, I suppose we kind of went into how you feel like in general about men's ministry and how it offers all these things to men and maybe things that they aren't doing and things that maybe they should be. I don't know. That's a hard thing to hear sometimes. That perhaps we're not performing to the standard in which we should.
Oh, we're
in
definitely
areas
not.
we don't even think about.
This true story. Yeah.
And that's crazy.
I know there's definitely room for improvement in my life. So
And all of us,
a bunch of room for improvement. So
Sure. Okay. Well, was there anything else you wanted to share? Anything else you wanted to bring up?
I just say, if you're if you're stuck or you're at a point in life where you don't feel like you're measuring up, man, I just say keep putting a foot forward and get involved in men's ministry, get an accountability partner, or talk to me or talk to a pastor or somebody, and let's try to get you over that hump and just keep moving forward, man. Don't get stuck and be stagnant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just keep moving forward and try to improve a little bit each day, one day at a time.
Very good. Well, I like it. That was very encouraging, and I appreciate you coming and sitting down with me and taking some time out of your busy schedule to
No problem.
hang out and record
I enjoy
this.
it.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for watching and listening to what Fred had to say this week about men's ministry. Please go down to the comments and follow the link to donate to the church. We would appreciate that very much. Thank you.